Once again, we are on the floor because my back hurts, because baby is very up close personal with my spine. Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be doing December's version of Book of the Month, and I will be completely honest, I really wanted to do a festive story for this one. Considering the season, I wanted to read a holiday themed book in some way, and then just did not get around to it because work has been all over the place. I have been in so many different locations covering. Some places have had to close early because of everything else that's happened this year, and I haven't even known where I'm going to be the next day, let alone what I'm going to read. And let's be honest, my to-read list is already insane, and I did not even cover half the stuff that was on my reading list for this year, so yes. So today we're going to be looking at something that is not my genre. That's the thing, festive holiday themed stories aren't really my genre anyway. I kind of find them a little bit too cheesy and repetitive, and I don't know, I think I need to broaden my mind a little bit more. Maybe they've changed since the last time I took a look at them, but regardless, speaking of things that are not in my genre, this book was not in my genre at all, and that is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I will be completely honest, this book was given to me by one of my close friends for Christmas last year, and she had not stopped praising this book. It's one of her favourite books, and when she told me about it and like the basic premise, I was a little bit like, ooh, it's a predictable college romance featuring a shy introvert and a cocky guy. Wonder how that one's gonna go. I was very skeptical, and I was like, yeah, I'll put it on my reading list, I'll get around to it, and then just never did. And then she sent it to me as a Christmas present, so I thought, okay, well now I've got to read it. And I was very worried because I was like, I might not enjoy this because it's not I don't do romance books. I don't do romance. They're all very repetitive to me. They have to be a very one in a million exception for me to be like, yes, I'm invested in this romance. I don't do romance stories. I find them very repetitive, and it's very rare that you have a romance where they actually develop the characters properly and develop them as people and develop some kind of regular relationship before they become a relationship. And it's just so rare that I just don't bother. So I was worried when I was reading this, and at the start I was very much like, oh, leaving home for the first time? Introvert doesn't want to be there? Okay, yep, she's met the guy. Okay. No, I was worried, but then something weird happened. Something that I was not expecting. Something that made me turn around and say, you know, with my hands in the air, I was wrong about this book. I was completely wrong about this book, because it does the unexpected. It develops the main character, Kath, it develops her as an individual person. She is going through her own stuff. She has this sister to deal with who also gets developed as a character. She has, you know, her coursework to deal with. You get to see her writing work. You actually get attached to the characters that she's created, which I know has its own spin-off story at the moment, and I will get around to it because it's made me want to get around to it. But yeah, she's a fully developed person with goals and aims and beliefs, but just not the confidence to follow them. And she's learning how to do that on her own. She's learning how to do that before the guy even shows up. I'm just there like, okay, I'm interested. I'm really interested, and I'm very invested in the characters that she's created and that she's writing about. Let's see where this goes. And then when the guy gets introduced, the same thing happens. He gets developed as an actual individual person, a pretty decent, realistic human being with flaws and a few moments that really make me want to slap the guy, but overall, he's good, and they get developed, and they're allowed to grow closer as a result. What a concept! I'm invested. I was fully invested. I was like, okay, both of these characters and all the other characters have been given an equal amount of development and backstory and character. I want to know where this is going to go. I really want to know where this is going to go. So when they do start getting closer together, I'm like, I'm kind of rooting for these guys now, which is such a rare thing for me, because when it comes to books that are typically a romance genre, it's so cut and dry, this is what everything's going to be, that there's no point reading it because it's too predictable. With this one, it gave so many other aspects around the romance that the romance just became kind of background, and I was really invested. I read it all in like 2 days. It was insane. But it's not just that, the writing style, because you're seeing things from Kat's perspective, and it's seeing her trying to cope with brand new situations, leaving home for the first time, going to college, having to, have housemates that you want to get on with, you just don't know how, that have lecturers that just don't see things from your perspective when you are really trying your hardest, when you have all of these dreams but just don't have the confidence to go for them. She's so relatable and realistic, and the way she handles certain situations, especially when she's contrasted with other characters that are just no nonsense, or I'm free for the first time, I'm gonna go crazy. Those are all people that I've interacted with when I left home for the first time to go to uni. I saw a lot of my friends in some of these characters, and I'm not going to mention who is who because I may upset some people, but yeah, the whole way of writing these characters and the way it describes the process of anxiety and having so many issues dealing with social situations, the way it handles all of that is so real and down to earth, but it doesn't sugarcoat anything, but at the same time it doesn't go over the top with all flowery language and stuff like that. It's just, this is a sucky situation, you've been in this situation, let's just see if we can get through it, and it felt very real. And it's kind of cliche at this point to have a main character who's an introvert want to be a writer. I mean, let's look at Jacqueline Wilson, for example. How many of her main characters have wanted to be writers? Because Jacqueline Wilson always wanted to be a writer. So when this main character wants to be a writer, I was a little bit like, ooh, okay, is she going to be the stereotypical what every writer thinks a writer should be? Or is she actually going to be a human who wants to write? And she is a human who wants to write, but she does things in such a unique way, like through fan fiction, which I think we've all explored at some point. It is, I've written fan fiction. I'm proud of my fan fiction. In fact, the friend who gave me this book, we met through fan fiction. So maybe that's another reason that this book has kind of touched me in a way. If she's watching this, then I will be the first to admit that I am sorry, that I was skeptical, I was wrong, and this was a great book, and I do love it, and I see why it's your favourite. It's not my favourite, but it has climbed into my top 10, I will admit. I really don't know what else there is to say. The way it's written is very well done. It's not flowery, it's not over the top, she's describing things in a way that she would want them to be described in her own story, but at the same time just can't compute half the stuff that's happening. So it's a good contrast, it's a good struggle that you can kind of get behind. The romance takes a back seat so that the characters can actually develop themselves properly before they even start to fully interact in that way, so you're rooting for them for different reasons. The drama, the family drama, is something that I can relate to very well because my family is all the drama. Some bits really hurt in an emotional way. It will affect a lot of people, and even the little snippets the snippets of her writing fan fiction, and the characters that she's made and the situations that they are put in, they have a charm about them. They have their own level of unique development that I can't really describe because that would probably go into spoiler territory. But yeah, I mean, this book really surprised me in so many ways, and I really love it. And I didn't expect to. Great writing, great character development. I appreciate that they make the romance take a back seat until much later in favour of family drama and friendship issues and dealing with new situations first. I really appreciate that, so then when the romance does come around, you're already attached to these characters. It's like the combination of reality and fiction and how they can collide in very strange ways, and that sometimes your authority figures just don't understand you and you will suffer as a result, even though it's not fair. That is something, again, that I can very much relate to. But yeah, this book truly took me by surprise in many ways, and it is definitely worth a read. This is why it is Book of the Month. When I say I read it in 2 days, I did read it the Christmas that she got it for me. So it is a bit of a cheat to go back and be like, oh yes, this is one off my shelf from eons ago, but I have done that in the past. I do cheat with these Book of the Months. It's not books that I have read that month, it is just books that have either caught my attention that month or books that have impacted me in some way. And I do want to revisit, and I do want to revisit this. So yeah, fangirl. My biggest surprise, apparently. I do want to take a look at the other books that Rainbow Rowell has written, especially the ones with these fanfiction characters, because they do seem really fun as well, and it brings more of a fantasy element into it, more of an adventure element into it, which is more my style, so maybe I'll enjoy those more, but time will tell. We will see what happens. But yes, until then, thank you for taking part in this Book of the Month. If you've read this book, then let me know what you thought of it. If you have any suggestions for me, I'd love to hear them. Until then, I hope you're staying safe, I hope you're doing well, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye, my scribblers.